Hello everyone, welcome to Painting Crafty. And today I have a fun project that shows you how to make a simple DIY interchangeable frame using some wood pieces that I found at my Dollar Tree and a few little fun accent pieces that I found from my thrift store, these wooden spools. I'm going to be showing you step by step of how to create this frame. Today I'm a part of the YouTube collaboration, What Would You Make? Our hosts for today's event are Brenda with Rustic and Lace DIY, Christine with DIY Craftaholic, and our guest host today is Jess with Glue La La. You're going to be able to find the links to their channels inside of my description, as well as the playlist link for all of the rest of the creatives who are joining in to today's What Would You Make wood collaboration. Well, I'm going to go ahead and grab my glue gun, my paint, and my little wood items and show you how this is put together.
Let's go over some of the wooden pieces I used to build my frame with. This mini easel worked perfectly to create a standing system for the back of my frame. A 6x6 canvas, I removed the canvas, and then I had a perfect little square to be able to build the interchangeable frame with. I needed to have a backing system, so this banner that was made out of wood worked perfectly to be able to create an interchangeable frame with. I'd be able to mount my square on top of this one to create the system. All I needed to do was to be able to measure correctly is to place my square down on top of that wooden frame, and I just took a pencil and drew a line. I also made sure I had enough room to be able to attach my wooden spools to. Once I had my lines drawn, I just took a ruler and a utility knife and scored on that wood. The wood is fairly thin, so it worked easily to be able to cut it with a utility knife. If it doesn't go all the way through, you can always flip your item over and score it lightly on the back, and it should cut all the way through without any special tools. You may notice that I'm using the banner upside down. It's very intentional. I wanted to be able to have that V system at the very top. So once I slid my frame up to the top, and I will be attaching it there, I will have that open area so I will be able to easily slide pictures in and out. Up next, I need to create a spacing system on the back of my frame. I chose to use these little wooden skewers. They're going to work perfectly. They create just enough room to be able to slide a picture in and out easily. I'm using wood glue and hot glue to attach the wooden skewers to the back of my frame. The wood glue will make the skewers adhere permanently, but the hot glue will grab quickly and allow me to place my frame on easily where I need it to be. When placing the skewers, I want to be on the outside of my frame, and then I'm also sliding my finger across to remove any extra glue. I want to make sure there's plenty of room to be able to slide a picture in and out. To assure my system was going to stay together, I went ahead and used the clamps to make sure the skewers were being held down tightly. Once the system was dry, I was able to remove it from the clamps, add additional glue, and then attach my system on top of the wooden banner. The one thing I need to point out is to make sure that you do have it turned the right way. I did have mine upside down when I first glued it, so I needed to take it apart and do it all again. But once I had it all there, all mounted the way it was supposed to be, I ended up clamping it again and letting it dry. Here I'm measuring my paper to make sure I know how big to make my artwork. My plan is to have a standard size, so when I get ready to create, I already know what size of paper to cut. I like doing a lot of different acrylic painting, watercolor, mixed media, and paper is a perfect substrate to create on. Having this little frame that would be interchangeable will be a great little thing to have to display some of these simple drawings that I like to create on my channel. Since I'm showing an idea for an interchangeable frame, I thought it would be a great idea to show you an example of some of the painting and drawing tutorials that I do on my channel. I do weekly draw-alongs and paintings. All abilities are welcome, and it's great for beginners and for people who already know how to draw and paint. It just gives a great location to come along and do some art fun and create, just for the fun of it and just for you. Practicing weekly, your skills are going to get better, your confidence is going to grow, and on my channel there's a great group of people who come along weekly and join in the art fun, and it's a super supportive community. So if you're interested in learning more art techniques about watercolor, painting, mixed media, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, that way YouTube will give you a notification when I put up new videos. I'd love to have new creative friends join me. This little piece is going to look so cute in that frame, and it'll be a perfect little fun summertime drawing painting to display. This one is a mixed media piece, so I'm starting with some watercolor, and I used some colored pencils and some gel pens, and now I'm putting these cute little buttons on there just to add a little bit more dimension, and it's going to slide perfectly into that frame. Well, now that we have the frame glued, it's all dry, let's add the finishing touches. So I'm going to be starting out with a layer of my white paint, and then I'm going to be going ahead and adding the color underneath. The underneath colors are going to be pops of bright color. So I'm going to be starting with those blue colors and layering it in, adding a little bit of the yellow, and then a lime green and a bright orange. Once I have my first layer on, I want to give it a dry. And then once it's dry, I'm going to be repeating the process and adding a few more of those layers of those bright pops of color. Once the color layer is all dry, I'm going to take the same white that I began with, and I'm going to be brushing on a layer of the white. I'm not trying to cover up all the color, but I want to be able to lay some of it on, and while it's still wet, I'm going to be taking this razor blade and scraping across the surface, pressing that white paint down into the other areas, and creating this beautiful little texture. It almost reminds me of a salt wash, layers of color popping through with the white on top. When using the razor blade, I'm gently pulling it across but still scraping. I want to be able to push those colors together. The paint is still wet, the white paint is, and I'm dragging it across and combining the bottom layers with the top layers, and that is how I'm creating that texture. I can scrape down to the raw wood if I would like, just to even add a little bit more texture. By seeing little peaks of raw wood underneath there coming through, it's just a bonus texture, and it even adds more character to this frame. You're going to notice that the razor blade is going to ball up the paint a little bit, so I just took a soft brush and brushed away the texture and tapped it off, and then I used a medium grit sandpaper and sanded over it and smoothed the paint texture down. It worked really easily, and I love the look this created. Once my frame was good and dry, I went ahead and flipped it over and was going to be using the mini easel to create the standing device for my frame. I just reversed the center part so I had a very large, smooth area to go ahead and glue onto the back of my banner. My go-to glue for gluing wood together is wood glue. When you're gluing raw wood to raw wood, it's the glue that works the best. So I'm just going to be applying a thin bead of wood glue to the back of my easel. And then I'm also going to be adding just a couple drops of the hot glue. The wood glue will create a bond between my two surfaces that will be permanent, and the hot glue is just a quick fix so I can apply my pieces together and allow my wood glue to dry. I'm going to put some glue at the very top and at the bottom of each of the feet. Before I permanently center it, I want to make sure that the center of my easel is lined up to the center of the banner, at the middle of that area that comes right down the middle. Using my thumbs to push up at the bottom of the easel to make sure it is flat with the bottom of the banner is going to make sure that my piece will sit evenly once I stand it up. You're going to want to set your frame up and make sure your adjustments are correct so that your wood frame sets evenly. You want to do this before the glue dries. There isn't a way to clamp it, so I just set a big heavy book on the back and let it dry. Let's go ahead and finish up with our finishing touches. I wanted to be able to cover up the edges because they have those slats in there from the canvas board. I just used hot glue and a little bit of jute twine. I used a skewer to be able to wipe up any of the extra glue so I didn't have any glue ridges, and just continued all the way around my edges. The original banner comes with 2 holes drilled through the wood piece, so I needed something to cover the holes. And I found these wooden spools at my local thrift store, and I thought they'd work perfect for adding a little bit of interest and character to this frame. I went ahead and left the thread on them because I like that extra whimsy look. I used hot glue to be able to attach these wooden spools. And the reason why I chose hot glue is because it's a temporary glue. You can always heat it up and remove them if you would like. And sometimes those wooden spools are hard to find, so if I decided I wanted to use them for a different project, I could always remove them easily. Let's go ahead and try out this artwork and see what it looks like. The frame is working perfect, even to be able to fit this dimensional piece in. The buttons were a little bit thicker, but I was still able to slide them through with no problem and to display this artwork. I also wanted to be able to remove it easily, so I was able to be able to pull it out, and that little bit of a V in the back really helps to remove the artwork easily. Let's try out a different picture. This is a mixed media one. She slides in and out very easily, no problem at all. This one is a little bit of a watercolor look with some pen work. Great as well. It works wonderful for that. And this last piece is a floral piece with some handwriting. I like it too. It looks great, and it's wonderful that the frame is interchangeable and I can change it out easily and quickly. I wanted to say a special thank you to our hosts today, Brenda, Christine, and Jess, for hosting this collaboration and bringing a great group of creatives together. You're going to find the links to their channel inside of my description box, as well as the link to the rest of the playlist. You're definitely going to want to check out to see what everyone creates in this What Would You Make collaboration. You'll have to let me know inside of the comments if you found this frame inspirational and if you might take a chance and make one for yourself. I invite you to drop over on my channel, see what we have to offer. I do weekly draw-alongs, so I'd love to have more creative friends join me. If you like painting, drawing, or mixed media, and all the creative things, come on over and see what we're doing. Thanks everyone for watching.